Yeah, here we go. We're doing it. We're really doing it. It's another show just for you. All right. Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and we have a fantastic show for you today. You might have noticed we're not actually live. This is being recorded, but I'm going to try to treat it like it's a live stream. And this is, of course, because I got a thing. I signed an NDA, so I can't really talk about it until maybe Sunday or Monday. But I am traveling out of town. Now, this is unusual for me. Being a full-time content creator for years, I don't really leave the house. I don't even know what this is like, what this is about. But I got a cool opportunity, and I'm excited to talk. Look, I don't even fully know what it's going to be like, but I got this cool opportunity, and I figured we'd give it a shot. And so I'll be able to share more about it eventually, like on Sunday and whatnot. But what I wanted to show you guys something here is kind of how unlucky I am, or how funny life is. You know, the universe is pretty funny. Check this out. This is Daniel RBK posting yesterday at 2 a.m. More big Marvel scoops coming from me today and tomorrow, with the eyeball emojis. So I posted down here, I'm out of town for a few days. Wait till next week, because that's true. I'm out of town for a few days, and I wish he would wait till next week. Doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. So I don't know how we'll figure this out. You know, maybe I'll do a stream from the hotel room. Maybe I'll do a stream or cut a video or something just on my phone, because like I'm not bringing any computers or anything with me. I kind of want to travel light. So we'll see. You might be seeing me with some really crappy hotel room lighting within the next couple of days, as I try to cover whatever stuff is going on. Now, having said that, of course, there are a couple of crazy things I want to talk about today, and I'm glad that we do have some stuff to actually talk about. We have, number one, Christopher McQuarrie, who is the director of the last two Mission Impossible movies, actually the last few Mission Impossible movies, incredible producer, writer, and director, obviously a big collaborator with Tom Cruise. He had a Man of Steel 2 movie that was relatively close to coming out, and it had Henry Cavill. There are a lot of rumors to suggest it would have had Tom Cruise as Hal Jordan, which is like, oh my fucking God. And, you know, the reason this is kicking back up in the news, I've actually talked about this before. I brought this up around the time that Gunn announced he was going to be writing and directing Superman. I had heard McQuarrie had a pitch due to some stuff I saw even in 2020, where he was talking back and forth to Rob Liefeld, actually, about his pitch for Man of Steel 2 and what he wanted to do, you know, with Superman, the Superman movie, and Cavill. And so that's wild. But the reason this is picking back up is he recently did the Josh Horowitz podcast, Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. And he goes into some detail about his Man of Steel 2, his Superman movie. And man, oh man, a lot of DC fans, frankly, a lot of Snyder fans, if we're being real. But just a lot of DC fans in general found it to be a little painful, because Chris seemed to get the character completely, and just from what he said and the energy he was giving off as he pitched this, you could tell he really cared about it. It would have been something really special, and that's a shame. And of course, the context of Gunn, maybe shutting that down, maybe it was never going to happen. We'll get into the details on that, but clearly, when Warner Brothers decides to go with Gunn, and then Gunn hires himself to write and direct Superman, you're not going to get the McQuarrie thing anymore, and that's kind of a shame, right? So we'll talk about that. I'll give you my thoughts about all of that. There's also, of course, the Spider-Man 4 news, man. This is crazy. So this broke when we were streaming yesterday, and it was towards the end of the stream. I couldn't believe it. Again, I was kind of mad, a little salty, because I'm going out of town, and this is crazy that we're getting big scoops like this. But since we talked about it on the stream yesterday, and I did a video on the main channel about it yesterday, even more stuff has come out, and so I kind of want to get into that with you today, yap a little bit about it. Punisher, what the hell? Hulk, what the hell? This is pretty crazy, so we'll get into that. I also dropped a ping on our Discord, and so after I yap for a little bit about both of these topics, I'm going to look at the Discord and see if there's any questions from you guys. Try to do a little version of Q&A. I will be back Thursday. I'll be honest with you. I have not even checked when I fly back, so I'm not sure when I'll be back on Thursday, but we'll be back to normal on Friday, and we're going to do a regular show, and then I'm going to stream Marvel Rivals for like a long time on Friday to celebrate Ultron, the new updates to the characters, etc., etc. So we'll have a big old Friday, and then you'll probably see me via the phone within the next couple of days. But let's get into the actual news today, man. And we're going to start with this news about Christopher McQuarrie's Superman. I'm going to play this 50-second clip that's going viral. And yeah, obviously a lot of fans, DC fans are, they're struggling because this clip, well, just watch it. Here we go.
Was
Oh, let me restart it.
The first 5 minutes of my Superman movie, which was imagine you remember Pixar's Up?
Sure.
A sequence with no dialogue that covered that character's.
Yeah.
Okay. The first 5 minutes of the movie was a setup after which you knew exactly what made Superman tick,
Yeah.
and exactly what Superman was most afraid of, and why Superman made the choices that he made. And it would have been epic. It would have been epic. In 5 minutes, the scale of the movie would have been absolutely extraordinary. The first 5 minutes.
Now, he goes on to say some interesting stuff about how you don't need to be beholden or captured by, the Donner Superman or the Donner theme, or, a lot of people, because this is just like 50 seconds. There's a whole segment from the podcast, which I recommend you check out if you're interested in what we talk about here today, right? But, and maybe you already have, but so he goes on to talk about how he wouldn't want to be in the shadow of the Donner stuff, which a lot of people feel like is a sort of dig at what Gunn is doing. I mean, Gunn is leaning super heavily into nostalgia, and he's clearly evoked the theme. He has his son, one of the Christopher Reeve's relatives or son, is in the film as well. So, Gunn is making a big nostalgia play here, and it seems like what Chris was going to do was going to be to do something truly epic in scale and really, really big. Now, he goes on to talk about Green Lantern, and he goes on to talk about how Green Lantern would have been a character that he suddenly realized. In fact, I have this pulled up for you here. Let's see what he said. He said, I suddenly realized how they had amazing similarities, which also allowed for amazing conflict and amazing universe expanding resolution. Okay, so dude, this is all sounding like crazy, but in a good way. So I can speculate a little bit about what I think this was going to be, but also we of course need to just talk more about what he said and kind of break down why this didn't happen, why fans are so upset about this. Okay, so at the beginning of his statement here, he's talking about a 5 minutes sequence that's very similar to Up in so far as it's silent. It's telling a big story, and he says you would know exactly what Superman stands for, who he is, and what he is most afraid of, okay? And I find that really interesting. Now, I think, because he says scale, and it would have been epic, right? So I almost feel like this sequence in some ways would have really played on the immortality of Clark and his, potential future and how he wants to be, a shepherd of humanity. And so I'm really curious exactly what this would have been. He doesn't give away what it would be, but this is clearly something that he's thought a great deal about. And you could just tell by the energy he's giving off. And of course, he's an incredible storyteller, right? A lot of people that watch this entire podcast from Josh Horowitz walked away, and I've seen the tweets saying that Christopher McQuarrie is what Hollywood needs right now. And he just spoke in a way that just felt like he was really a storyteller, understanding the audience, understanding the characters, and respecting the medium. And there's a lot of pushback to dull ideas that Hollywood has, even the idea of not leaning into nostalgia as heavily seems like a bit of a shot or a counter programming to what Hollywood is currently doing, which is really interesting. But going back to the actual plot here, this idea of epicness and scale and what Superman is most afraid. Well, what would Superman be most afraid of? I think Superman would be most afraid that after a long, long life, he would actually have to survive and witness the consequences of his actions. And I think, just the way I understand the character is like Clark's ultimate fear would be trying to be Superman and be good, and then seeing that it didn't work and that some of his decisions pushed humanity in the wrong direction. And then he wouldn't just die. He would live seeing the consequences of that and watching humanity destroy itself. I think that's what he would fear. There's also potentially this idea that Superman, even with all of his power, can't really control certain things like humans that he loves dying and stuff like that. It's also possible he's thinking of the scale of the entire universe. Like, it's really wild. This idea of it being epic is interesting. And then when you think about adding that in to him saying this, suddenly realize that they had the amazing similarities, which allowed for amazing conflict and amazing universe expanding resolution. I mean, Hal Jordan is very similar to Clark. In fact, there's been some sort of retcons and some interesting plots at DC that have said that the ring was originally going to go to Clark, but then it doesn't for whatever reason, and it ends up going to Hal. So they're very similar in their archetypes and their character types. I would say Hal is even a little bit more hard-edged than Clark. Really like, I'm going to get this done. That's probably like his military background. He's completely fearless. Clark is not fearless, but there's not a lot that Clark needs to be afraid of, right? Which is kind of interesting. And then this whole idea of like universe expanding resolution. I just got to say, and now is the time where I got to break into like complaining about, the gun stuff and just the current state of DC. And I'll say as a caveat here, I'm not trying to make this into dude, screw gun, like screw the DCU thing. I just spoke yesterday about how I'm actually coming around on this whole thing. I'm starting to get really excited about the potential DCU. And DC overall deserves so much better, right? And if Gunn's the guy to take that up and make that work for audiences in a way that will mean more DC content for me, like I'm down. So I know a lot of people are going to clip out me and whatever and try to make it look like I absolutely hate Gunn and I'm against his Superman. That's not it. I'm critical, but I don't hate it. But I do just have to say that this bugs me, okay? It bugs me because what Chris is talking about resonates with me, and his whole attitude and energy resonates with me, and Gunn just never felt like the right guy for the job. I mean, Gunn is a very competent filmmaker, but he's infantile, adolescent, goofy, silly. That's his wheelhouse. Look at all of his other projects, you know what I mean? And I just felt like that's not what we wanted with Superman. And of course, I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I mean, that's obvious, right? I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I'm a big Zack Snyder fan. But it's important to remember that even Cavill was not necessarily the biggest fan of the dark and dire, Superman. He wanted more of the Boy Scout. Actually, famously, Cavill was supportive of Joss Whedon coming in around the time of the Justice League cut. And that was because he was not so in love with what Zack was doing with the character. Okay, so you have McQuarrie and you have Cavill, okay? And they were actually talking a lot about this. And I think they shared a lot of similar ideas for this. And I remember a couple of things, so I want to bring a couple of things up here. Number one, there's this tweet here from Christopher McQuarrie. This was in 2019, where he's talking. He says, it's too complicated to explain it. Tied into the Superman movie that Cavill and I were proposing, no takers. The studios have never cared for my original ideas. They prefer that I fix their broken ones. Now, that's kind of interesting. It also implies that whatever the Superman movie was, it was a really original idea. And, think to that 5-minute thing. Think to the thing with Green Lantern. Brother, it sounds like he was fucking cooking here, man. It seems like he was cooking, and it seems like he got the character. Cavill was on board. They were really crafting something special. Now, there's a series of tweets. This is an interaction I remember in 2020. So a year after this one that we're looking at here. And it was Chris having a back and forth with Rob Liefeld, actually. And he was a little bit vague about it, but he said that he pitched this Man of Steel 2 thing with Cavill to Warner Brothers. They declined. And basically the TLDR was Chris was saying after 30 years of being told no, even an idiot like me knows when to just walk away. And Warner Brothers just has never liked him or liked his ideas. That's what he said. So, yeah, I mean, it could. So that takes us to the question about like what happened, right? Because he seems like he's willing to do it. Warner Brothers says no to him. And by the way, he kind of makes it seem like regardless of who was in charge of Warner Brothers, this was just the way they looked at things over there, which is kind of a bummer. But I think there was a window, you know, I don't know 100%, but when Zaslav comes in, right? So think about it like this. Here's what I'm going to say to you. If Zaslav came in and said, I want MCU, and then if Gunn gets hired and Gunn had said, we're going to just shift the DCU into like my direction. If he hadn't fired everybody, like, because again, he fires Cavill. You know, that was that whole thing. That was that whole thing where we got into a little thing. He fired him. And Cavill had literally just come back in Black Adam. And Cavill had made announcements about doing more Superman. So I think, even though the reporting is not crystal clear here, I think there was a moment where Cavill legit thought he would get this. Chris was down to do it. And maybe The Rock was even going to help make it happen as well. And of course, that's not what happened. Instead, we have Gunn who comes in and fires everybody. And I still think that was a mistake, and the way he handled it was poor. And then Chris doesn't do this movie, obviously. But I was told that around this time, when things were uncertain, when Rock was making his move before Gunn got officially hired, I was told Chris and Henry were really trying to make this happen. So, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough pill to swallow. Again, it's not that I'm totally against Gunn Superman, and there's parts of it that look really cool, and I'm excited to check it out. But in an age where the superhero genre is, I don't know, it's out of vogue, I guess, a little bit, and it doesn't have enough freshness. I think the truth is the genre needs fresh ideas and fresh perspectives. I think Christopher McQuarrie is that guy. And frankly, everything he said about, I mean, dude, and also like Tom Cruise as Hal Jordan, like that's not confirmed either, but there were big rumors that Tom Cruise was being looked at for Hal Jordan, like they were in the trades. Maybe not in the trades. I actually don't remember, but I remember those reports. You probably do too. I like Tom Cruise a lot, so I pay attention to all these things. You know, when he was rumored for Tony Stark in Multiverse Madness and stuff. So can you imagine Henry Cavill Superman, Christopher McQuarrie, Tom Cruise as Hal Jordan, and it's universe expanding? Like, bro, I'm sorry. That's just so much cooler than what I think Gunn is cooking. You look at the plot leaks, you look at the rumors for Gunn's thing, and it's like, okay, so yeah, this could work. It's not really pushing the envelope. I mean, I guess in one regard, it's pushing the envelope, but it otherwise feels like kind of corporate safe with a gun slant Superman. And I just would have much preferred Christopher McQuarrie's vision. So it's wild that this actually came out, that we can talk about it at this length and with the details that we now have. I'm very curious as to what you guys think about this. So let me know in the comment section if you're watching this on the Clips channel, or even if you're watching this video on the streaming channel. Let me know what you think about that, okay? Pretty freaking wild. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit, man. We's got to talk here. We's got to talk about the ye old Hulk. Ye old Hulk, man. This is wild. Okay, this is absolutely wild. So yesterday, while we were on stream, it was towards the end of the stream, absolutely earth-shattering news comes out from Nexus Point News, all right? And the news was that Bruce Banner was going to be a big part of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, in that article, they don't mention Hulk. They were like, oh, we don't know if he's going to be Hulk. I think they knew, but they just weren't allowed to say. They mention that it's not a cameo. And then they mentioned that this will be the next appearance and the 10th appearance for Bruce Banner. But then that'll be followed up by Doomsday and Secret Wars. Okay? So let's lay all this out there for you. That goes down. I was sort of scrambling when we were on stream talking about it. I was like, damn, like, dude, this is wild, but I just don't know. I will say, as I said on stream yesterday, John Roca, one of the first people to actually scoop this up. Apparently, though, Gary from Nerd Erotic also scooped this up a while ago. From what I understand, and just being completely transparent, I don't really watch a lot of Gary's stuff, but apparently on his streams, maybe his nooner streams or one of these streams, apparently he just randomly drop really crazy scoops. Now, I've talked about one thing that Gary said about the Fantastic Four movie and RDJ's Doctor Doom. So I've talked about that, and I think he's right on that, although I'm not 100%. But, dude, I damn sure think he's right on this one. Apparently, he was talking about exactly this. Savage Hulk and Punisher. Now, the Punisher bit, that's another element. That wasn't in the Nexus Point News scoop yesterday. It's crazy. So, here's what I'll tell you, okay? So, as this is going down yesterday, I had somebody reach out, and maybe you remember on stream, somebody reached out and said that Hulk was the villain. And I was like, whoa, what? Hulk's the villain? And I was like, oh, no, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Well, a little bit later on, I tweeted about it, and then I had another person, very reliable, reach out to me and be like, Hulk's the villain, okay? Now, I heard some other stuff. This is crazy. So remember the images and the scoops, or I guess the rumors that came out last week because there was some kind of expo, some kind of consumer expo thingy. Like, here, I'll pull this up here. Disney thingy. And then it says right here, Boomerang, Scorpion, Tombstone, Nuff said. And I remember we went over that. It was the same place where you got this from first look here at Spider-Man. And they did have a sizzler reel for Doomsday there too. Well, I come to find out that during that presentation, there were people that were mentioning the Savage Hulk. Apparently, the Savage Hulk was mentioned at this Spider-Man thing. So, look, here's the reality. Roca had this a couple of months ago. Gary seems to have had this 4 to 6 months ago. And it was also announced at an official Disney event, although in a foreign marketplace, an official Disney event just last week. So what does that mean? Well, guys, that means that this has been real for a while, okay? Like, this is not something that they just cooked up within the last couple of weeks, right? So clearly, a lot of the scoopers we listen to are still on some old information, okay? And how do we know that? Well, because when Roca said the Hulk thing, almost all of these big scoopers, and I'm talking about Alex Perez, Cryptic HD, Daniel RPK, My Time to Shine, hello, almost all of those people clowned on Roca and said it wasn't real. But it was. And Roca had it before everybody. Except maybe Gary, right? I don't know the exact timetable. Again, I don't watch Gary's stuff. No disrespect. I just don't watch his stuff. So, interesting, huh? Marvel has been quietly building a Hulk versus Spider-Man and Punisher movie in the middle of all of this other craziness. Now, I want to say something. I didn't say this in the video yesterday or on stream yesterday, but I thought a lot about this, and I think this is a fair take. To me, this is a great indicator that Marvel is indeed going for fan service and spectacle. Now, I think it's a safe bet to say that Brand New Day will not actually be in a new universe at this point. It might lead to something that does a new universe. There could be incursion stuff going on there. It could lead into Doomsday in that sense. But I don't think this is a Battleworld movie anymore. I don't think this is an alternate reality. I don't think it's anything crazy like that. I think it's 616 and there's shenanigans. Now, you might say, okay, well, that means we're not doing multiversal. It's going to be more street level and grounded like Kevin and Marvel wanted. And that could be the case. But all of a sudden, the Savage Hulk is the main villain. And remember, Tombstone, Boomerang, Scorpion, and I also heard Tarantula, who's such a weird, obscure villain, who apparently did get a revitalization within the past couple of years and got like a new little miniseries or something. That's kind of weird. But So you're going to have other villains. And then we've heard there's a female villain with a katana, has Asian-inspired stuff, could be Silver Sable, right? We've heard even the possibility of Mr. Negative as well. So what it seems like is you're going to have a Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man's fighting against a bunch of little, smaller Spider-Man villains. Bruce Banner is somewhat involved. Punisher is somewhat involved. And then Hulk is the main bad guy of the movie, meaning the big action set pieces and all the craziness, that's going to involve Hulk and likely Punisher, okay? Now, what's interesting about that is Alex Perez said on his Discord yesterday that he has recently heard that there's this sequence they're shooting for Brand New Day that is apparently the most ambitious sequence they've ever filmed. It's going to be filmed practical. It's going to take over a month to shoot. It's in a highly populated area. It's going to be very involved. So this sequence is apparently like the crown jewel of this film. So think about it from a producing perspective, not a story perspective, but a producing perspective. I've been saying for a while, they need to swing for the fences. They need to go for spectacle and event filmmaking. Well, now all of a sudden we have the return of the Savage Hulk, which to me is even more exciting than seeing Red Hulk. I mean, I was super excited to see Red Hulk, but the Hulk's the Hulk. And man, we have not been happy with this cardigan wearing, less than badass Hulk since Endgame, basically, right? Like a lot of us are like, bro, okay, Professor Hulk was kind of funny for a bit, but it's been like 6+ years. What the fuck? Please, for the love of God, get the Savage Hulk back, okay? So now you're going to do something that fans have been wanting forever in the next Spider-Man movie. On top of that, Punisher, bro. Punisher's been lighting the world on fire right now. I think people absolutely love Bernthal. I think that he taps into potentially a side of the fandom that has been a little scorned with, some of the left-leaning, identity politics stuff that Marvel has been doing, frankly. Like, not just the Frank Castle character, but the way Bernthal has ownership of that character and the way he talks about first responders, police officers, military. Like, some of you roll your eyes at this point that I'm making here, but it's real. It exists. It's an actual factor with the social media imprint for these films. Putting Punisher into that, getting the Savage Hulk back, like, doesn't this sort of read like the fanboys are getting exactly what they wanted? Doesn't this feel a little bit like Marvel injecting a little more testosterone back into Marvel in a Spider-Man movie? Bold choice, really bold, really interesting. And the movie seems big. It seems very ambitious and kind of wild with like Sadie Sink potentially playing May Parker from the multiverse. Like, there's a lot of wild stuff that could be happening here. But overall, if you just remove some of that noise and understand that the main selling point of this film is going to be Spider-Man versus the Hulk, potentially Spider-Man in the Venom symbiote, which I find fascinating. Venom, Spider-Man, and Punisher teaming up to fight against the Hulk. Like, brother, that's some fanboy dreaming. That's like me as a kid smashing all the toys together and my imagination running wild. So the selling point of this film is likely going to be Hulk. They've already mentioned it at the Marvel product thing, whatever that was, in the foreign marketplace, right? I would imagine they're going to put it on Front Street. And they're going to sell the movie as Hulk versus Spider-Man, Punisher, and Spider-Man having beef. Peter dealing with being regular Punisher or being regular Spider-Man, but then things get dark and crazy. So maybe then he has to bond with the symbiote or something. I don't know. Like, that's, and also remember, they're going to sell you on the spectacle of that big event, that big sequence. Like, you don't plan a sequence like this if you're not going to like use it as advertiser or pull. They're going to talk about it. A lot of rumors will come out about it. They might even do like a special featurette of how they're going to film it. And I promise you, that'll be a part of the selling point. We'll talk about that. A lot of people talk about that, and hopefully it'll get butts into the seats. So this is a really cool way for Marvel to have spectacle and do fun without going multiverse. And I really do think Spider-Man is going to be huge now. This feels like a legit production, producing business decision, and also really interesting from a creative perspective, okay? Now, the other reason I love this, man, and I really do, is it sets up the possibility of Hulk being savage once again in Doomsday or in Secret Wars. Now, we've heard that the Hulks are a big part of these films, and there's some footage of Hulk, or rather, not footage, concept art of Hulk with She-Hulk and with Scar, and he does look a little more Professor Hulky, but he's also bigger, if you notice. He's not as, like, weak looking as the Professor Hulk we currently have now. And so maybe you'll get a slightly more hulked out version of Professor Hulk that is actually Hulk and not Banner. And maybe that Hulk has the ability to even rage out from there and go Rage Monster Hulk. I'm not quite sure. It is also possible that they've adjusted the plans for Hulk in Secret Wars and Avengers just over time, too, and that the concept art doesn't necessarily mean all that. But we know that the first day of filmmaking on the set of Doomsday involved the Hulks. We've heard that the Hulks are there fighting against the X-Men. This includes Red Hulk. We've heard the Hulks are going to be a really big part of whatever they're doing in Secret Wars. And there's potential of even a World War Hulk movie or Maestro Hulk being an evil version of Hulk that rules Battleworld or a section of Battleworld. So there's like some big stuff they're cooking with Hulk. Now, I love all this, man. I think Hulk and I think Mark Ruffalo are a super underutilized aspect of the entire MCU. Like, he's a great actor, has a great hold on the character. But also, like, dude, Hulk smash, right? Like, Hulk does not wear cardigan and fucking talk, like, nonsense. Like, Hulk smash. So I think there's a big opportunity to, like, let Hulk smash. Now, I got to say, you know, I think Marvel Rivals, and this is maybe a wild turn where some of you guys will be like, what the fuck? But let's just hear me out on this. I think Marvel Rivals has done an incredible job of showing Marvel Studios that the popularity of, like, just the Marvel characters and the stuff they have access to is, like, enough. Like, you don't have to subvert expectations, reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do any of that. People love Hulk in Marvel Rivals just because he's Hulk and he smashes. And he's fun. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't reinvent Hulk. They don't try to make him this, that, second, and third. Like, nah, he's just Hulk and it's awesome. You know, Iron Man's just Iron Man and he's awesome. Spider-Man's just Spider-Man and he's awesome. Captain America is just Captain America and he's awesome. The X-Men are just the X-Men and they're awesome. I'm hoping that we're going to see a return to more traditional sensibilities with the Marvel characters, where Marvel Studios is just going to lean on what people like about these characters and then just dial it up. Because, like, look, we love Spider-Man. We love the web swinging. We love the action. We love the character. You know, we love the struggle that he has. But really, like, Spider-Man is dope because he's Spider-Man. He can flip around, climb on walls, web swing. And then, of course, you add the Venom symbiote into that. It's like a whole new world of badassery. We love that. Destin Daniel Cretton is an incredible action director. You look at Shang-Chi, holy shit, dude. Like, what he was able to accomplish in that is brilliant. And it's just, the choreography is so great. The cinematography is great. With all the ninjas and the wire work and all that, it was absolutely incredible. We love Hulk smashing and doing badass Hulk action, which we have not had enough of. We got like a little taste of it in Brave New World. 5 minutes of Red Hulk action. It's not enough. We need much more, okay? We love Punisher. But frankly, Punisher didn't do enough. In his, Daredevil Season 1 stuff, he wasn't beating enough ass, doing enough violence. It was awesome. He's one of the best parts of that entire show, but it's like not enough. On top of that, so let me just finish this point. So you think about that. We love Punisher doing Punisher stuff. We like Spider-Man doing Spider-Man stuff. And we like Hulk doing Hulk stuff. So why not just do that, add it all together, and dial it up to 11? So imagine like a multi-million-dollar action sequence where you have Hulk just fucking destroying shit, and you've got Punisher and Spider-Man using their full arsenal and abilities to try to, like, save people, but also hold the Hulk at bay. And there's not a better character to let Frank go all out on than Hulk. I wouldn't even mind it if, like, they got a suit for him. Like, because Punisher, of course, does get the War Machine suit at one point in Marvel Comics. It becomes like the War Punisher, and it's like super badass. It's just kind of like a fun little thing. But remember, Peter understands Stark tech. Peter built all the Sinister Six villains, new tech, and he could build an entire suit for Frank Castle. So, like, dude, I'm not saying, like, maybe I shouldn't even bring this up because it's a little bit too much, like, fanboy dreaming. And we're like, bro, like, if we don't get this now, I'm going to be pissed. But just consider Punisher in a War Machine suit and Peter Parker in the symbiote suit fighting against a absolute savage, raged out Hulk that's destroying New York City or something. Like, oh my God. That feels right. And I feel like that's the right way to sell this kind of stuff these days. Like, I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel, get all tricky with the character and whatever you're trying to symbolize or, you know, the themes you're trying. Like, no, dude, like, just do the fun comic book stuff and do it dialed the F up. So I think this is real, and I think this is huge for the movie. Like, truly, I think this is a brilliant move. Now, I don't think it's Maestro. I had originally said, wow, wonder if this is Maestro Hulk, and there are a lot of rumors of Maestro Hulk coming in. Maybe he's involved somewhat, or maybe he's set up via this movie. I'm not really sure. I think it's more likely that Maestro's involved in either just straight Secret Wars or in the Doomsday film. And maybe what you'll see is Doom go into the timeline and rip out Banner from a certain timeline and just like kind of create him into the Maestro Hulk. Maybe that's what it is. But either way, this is exciting, dude. I think right now there's fatigue for the rumors for Spider-Man 4. And I totally understand that. And there's probably a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But this is just absolutely real. The actual news cycle will eventually catch up with this. Again, Marvel is talking about this at official events, right? So we're going to find out soon. And I actually I'm really looking forward to this. I think the lead up to it, the rumors, the press tour, the fun that could be had here with Hulk, Punisher, and Spider-Man, I think this is all top-notch stuff. And it just shows, too, that, like, despite how fatigued I am on Marvel and despite how frustrated I am with some of their decision-making, it still gets me excited when you put some badass characters together and do some cool stuff with them. And that's good. That just shows that there's still juice within the Marvel brand. We'll see how the normies or the public sort of respond to this when it becomes official. I've already seen some people being, you know, frustrated or whatever. And then there's folks that, of course, just want Peter to be street level and, you know, just not being able to afford rent and, you know, like we don't want Punisher or Hulk in our Spider-Man. And I totally understand that. But for me, dude, I can't help it. I think it's really cool. I am quite excited. Okay, I will say a couple of interesting things, some weird stuff that just happened. Remember yesterday we talked about how in Bahrain, they are filming stuff for Avengers Doomsday. I had thought they'd be filming in one of the futuristic cities and just kind of doing something like that. But just this morning, and I'll pull this up for you, just this morning, a scoop, or rather a photo that the T. Siegel, I think she's the cinematographer for this film, posted this on Instagram. People have noticed this thing looks like the thing on The Void, and the Scoopers just kind of ruined it. And the Scoopers, My Time to Shine, said it's The Void with eyes on it. So this is probably that they are actually shooting some stuff in The Void right now. Now, I got to tell you, man. All right, let's just go for it. Fuck it, man. I'll bring this up. I might do a full video on this. I'm really not sure if this dude is real. There's this guy here, okay? This James Mackwell guy, and some of the scoops he's been sharing are like, I've heard it's like not true, okay? However, dude, let me just explain. Daniel has recently been scooping that The Void is going to be a big part of this. Now we're getting footage that they're actually shooting the Void with the Avengers. Okay? So put two and two together here. Daniel is picking up on the fact that they're filming the Void stuff. Now, what this account says here is that in Avengers Doomsday, Doom will enter the Void in the final game and open the doors to the Citadel at the end of time, just as Loki and Sylvie did. The heroes will try to stop him from reaching Loki. Doom will have Doombots, villains, and evil versions of the heroes to help him. Now, this is fucking mind-blowing. And this could actually be real. I don't know if it is real, but let me explain a couple of things that are going on here, okay? So obviously the Void stuff feels real and verifiable. He did talk about this a long time ago, the Void stuff. So, kudos to him. We've also heard that Loki as the MacGuffin is the most important thing. That's what Doom's after. We've also heard that Doom will be infiltrating the Avengers, try to pretend to be one of them. He's going to fight against the X-Men with the Avengers. That's all to weaken both camps so that he can grab up these powerful people. So what could be happening here is the movie takes place and the Avengers think they're with a Tony Stark variant. They're fighting against the X-Men. All of a sudden, the script gets flipped. The evil Avengers take their actual goal, which is like taking the powerful people. So maybe Franklin Richards, Wanda, Jean Grey, Phoenix, Sentry, like maybe those are people that they need. And maybe then eventually, after Doom has weakened the X-Men and the Avengers enough, he grabs up all the powerful people. He reveals himself, right? Because there's these rumors that he is going to be scarred up. And I was kind of thinking, well, wouldn't that be a really awesome reveal where he looks like Tony Stark. They think he's Tony Stark, the Avengers. Then he reveals his actual face and it's all like scarred up like Doom. And they're like, oh my God, he's evil. Look at how scarred he is, So maybe then reveals himself. And then if he goes to the Void, this is why I love this rumor. If he goes to the Void and he has to try to get to Loki, and then you're going to have Doombot's other villains, like potentially a Magneto, and other versions of heroes, which would be like the Dark, like Hydra Cap and others, Evil Thor. Oh my fucking God. This is the way where we were just hearing about Ryan Gosling potentially being Ghost Rider. Dude, this is how this could all work. Because if Goss is in it and he's Ghost Rider, he's just on the Void. And the Void, if there's a big Void sequence at the end of Doomsday, and it's all about Doom getting to Loki, and then if he gets to Loki, he ends the multiverse and recreates the sacred timeline. If that's what it is, and you have the TVA, Loki, Multiversal Avengers, everybody trying to stop him on the Void, all of a sudden, guys, you get the OG Secret Wars flavor. What do I mean by that? Well, in the Jim Shooter version of Secret Wars, it was just the coolest heroes, the coolest villains, and they're all on this planet called Battleworld. The Beyonder destroyed a galaxy, created Battleworld out of its matter, and then it was just this place. And then he created it. Eventually, people populated it. He brings the villains and heroes there. And basically, the concept was just to see who would win, evil versus good. But really, the concept was, let's sell some goddamn comics by having our best heroes and villains fight in this secret war. Okay, so that's the original. And we know for certain that Jim Shooter was paid in 2019 or 2020. He was paid some royalties because they were going to use Secret Wars and some of his ideas. Okay, but we also know that they're using Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars. That is completely different. That is on Battleworld, where instead of seeing all the popular heroes and all the popular villains fighting it out, you see all the popular heroes, all the popular villains living out this alternate reality where they're all like Game of Thrones characters. And it's all like high fantasy and like Doom's God and there's a castle and Strange is the sheriff. And it's like really crazy, right? So one of the questions I had for a long time was like, well, how are they going to do both? Like, how do you get the flavor of Shooter where it's just fun Marvel characters as you know them in their actual comic book form fighting? And then you'll also get the Hickman stuff where it's characters as you don't know them, as new versions in the Game of Thrones style. Well, guys, this is the fucking solution. Like, this is the solution right here. You do a Void battle as the multiverses collapse. You can grab up any kind of a character for that. So you get Secret Wars flavor with Doom fully revealed finally, fighting with evil bad guys and evil Avengers against any and every other heroic Marvel character that you could think of. And then they all eventually lose and Doom remakes the reality. Dude, that's brilliant. So what I'm saying to you is this. If this is true and they're filming The Void right now, then guys, we might start getting some... I mean, we just got the Ghost Rider thing. I wonder if that's connected to this as well. The timing is kind of sus, right? So just something to think about. We might be getting some actual information here, and then we also might be getting some insane leaks for different characters that are going to show up this, that, second, and the third. on the void with where they're filming now, and they can of course CGI characters in and like do weird stuff. Maybe they'll have some stand-ins, but dude, that could be what Daniel's teasing for the next couple of days. And if anything crazy happens, I'll do a little video or recording about it for sure. Okay, so there's a little bonus one for you today. Those are all the main topics. I'm gonna shift into Q&A now, and I'm gonna peek over on the Discord here, see if I can grab up a couple of good questions here. Let's see here. This one's from Kendall. It says, I feel like Mr. Negative has the potential to unleash Savage Hulk or even Maestro Hulk. Very interested to see what his powers do to Gamma, but does this news mean Hulk isn't in Doomsday? Okay, a couple of things on this one. First of all, I don't know too much about Mr. Negative, but I have seen this take online where his powers can show you like the negative version of something, or like he can, it almost feels like he's a version of what they did in Cataclysm, where like the good guys became bad, the bad guys became good. So like if that's what's going on here, or maybe he's showing them the true version. I don't know a lot about Mr. Negative. I never played those games, and I can't remember ever him being in any comics I read of Spider-Man. So, but I have seen that take. So I'm just going to claim ignorance on that, but also say like, yeah, that sounds plausible. Mr. Negative could be the key there. Does this mean Hulk isn't in Doomsday? Nah, the very article that broke this news makes mention of Hulk being in both the other Avengers movies, and we know that Hulk and several Hulks have already shot mocap on the set. They were like some of the first things they shot, according to Atlanta Filmmaking. Okay, so let's see here. Frex says, how do you think Hulk will become the villain? And do you think it's Bruce and Hulk to become the villain, or is it Hulk is the villain and Banner simply lost control? How will Hulk be set up after Spider-Man 4? Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's either that he snaps on screen or he has already snapped off screen. So you could make a big part of the film being the fact that the Hulk goes missing in the wake of Red Hulk, and then that causes like some really crazy tension. Like you could play it that way. Or you could play it that Bruce is like trying to get Peter to join the Avengers, or I guess Spider-Man, because he wouldn't know Peter, right? So, you know, that could be a part of it where Bruce is just normal and then eventually he snaps. This could connect to Doom or Maestro. So it could be Doom trying to get him to snap using some tech, using something to get him to snap. I'm not really sure. Now, what does this mean for Hulk in the future? Well, I guess it really depends. I think it would mean that if Hulk is involved in Doomsday, which we think he is, then he's either like reluctantly there or everybody else is not sure about him being there. Because if he freaks out and causes massive damage again, people are just going to feel differently about that. And it's kind of interesting because sure, Sentry kind of does some really bad stuff in Thunderbolts, and we've heard there's a conflict between Sam and Bucky, right? So, you know, that's probably a part of it where Sam's like, bro, this dude is crazy powerful. He almost killed everybody in New York. Well, if that's something that happens with Sam as well, with Hulk, then all of a sudden they're on even ground of like not really controlling their weapons too much. It could also add into causing tension between governments and, you know, superpowered people or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. How will it be set up after Spider-Man 4? He's going to be in the next two Avengers movies, and I would assume his rage will be played on as well. So we'll just see. How is Rage Hulk villain in Spider-Man 4 going to be any better than it was in Brave New World? Well, I think two things. I think number one, and by the way, this is from YA, the Great No Debate. YA is great, no debate. So two things. I think number one, Marvel has to realize that that wasn't it for Brave New World. I mean, dude, the movie didn't do well. It's a bomb. It's an embarrassment. And even though the Red Hulk stuff is cool, like, goddamn, it was just so stupid that they marketed the whole movie and he was only in it for 5 minutes. So what I'm saying is, this is actually Marvel's chance to make it up to us. If you're a Hulk fan, if you were disappointed with what Red Hulk did, there's a lot of hope that it's going to be different this time, and that what they do then will be so much better, right? So I understand where your head's at, but this is their chance to do it way better. Let's see here. Stu Redmond says, with Punisher being in Spider-Man 4, how do you think the story potentially plays out with Daredevil Born Again Season 2? So from what I understand, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 and the Punisher special presentation will take place before Spider-Man in the canon. So whatever happens in Deadpool or Daredevil season 2 is actually more likely to affect. Sorry, I gotta sneeze. To affect that movie than the other way around. So basically, I don't think the show is going to worry about it too much. The movie might worry about what the show did. Does that make sense? Let's see here. Any other ones here? If the Hulk ends up being the main villain in Spider-Man 4, how does Mayday and all the other villains fit into the story with tying it to Doomsday? Could it be Spider-Man 4 end up being street level, like Civil War situation? Yeah, so obviously we don't know. That's a great question. I think part of it could be useful in setting up the dynamic of the Avengers, right? So that's kind of interesting. I think it's clearly going to set up some stuff for Punisher and Hulk. We'll see if Punisher then is in Doomsday or not. That's kind of interesting, right? So I mean, I guess I don't know how the Mayday stuff works in, but it's possible that the multiverse is still collapsing all around them. Peter's just trying to be Peter. There's multiversal pressures. I think the main idea of the movie is going to be Peter is finally the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He wants to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And remember, we've heard some stuff where like the spell has made it so even he has forgotten about himself a little bit. So he's going a little bit darker. So it could be a scenario where Peter's going darker. Maybe Punisher approaches him out of like concern, and he doesn't want a person like Peter with that power to go dark like he did. Maybe he wants him to. Yeah, I'm not really sure. How does Mayday get involved? Maybe Mayday shows up and she's trying to stop him. She knows what happened to her father. Maybe her father went a little darker. Her father's probably going to be Toby. So yeah, there's a lot of good storytelling potential there. It does seem crazy that, you know, we're going to have all of these characters. It is a little wild that you've just got Spider-Man villains and then Hulk randomly, but I think there's a way forward for sure. Yeah, really interesting. And I think that's all of the questions. Not everybody's awake yet in the tower. But those are some good questions. Appreciate it. And so I'm going to get on out of here in just a second. So we pretty much made it to an hour. I just want to say I'm grateful and thank you guys for all the support. Been working hard trying to figure out, videos, streams, a lot of cool content for you guys. I took this opportunity to go to New York, and it is for something cool and nerdy. And we'll talk more about it on Sunday and into Monday of next week. That's when it'll officially be revealed. And I'll try to get some stuff recorded on my phone, I guess, because I really do think Daniel's about to drop some crazy stuff, which is probably connected to the Void and potentially this big fight with Doom and everything else we've been talking about here. So it's wild times. It's kind of unfortunate that I've got the trip when I do right now, but it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to get on out of here. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. And let me know how you enjoyed this sort of replay, pre-recorded version of the live stream. Might have to do this again someday if I'm out of town. But again, I am going to try to do something live, maybe tomorrow, maybe on Thursday, just on the phone. So I'll let you know how all of that goes. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Hey, I gotta tell you, if you made it to the end here, I'll just make a small confession. I'm a little nervous, man. I don't know anybody else that's going to this thing. It's technically connected to a billionaire, and I'm a little worried that, like, is this a trap? Like, is Kevin Feige gonna get me? What the hell? If I'm never heard from again, just know it's been a real fun time. I'm sorry I yelled at you. Not you. You deserved it. But everybody else, I'm sorry I yelled at you. Much love. Hey, do me a favor, man. Would you? Would you open up your third eye? And would you wash out your stinky, stinky butt? Holy